Hello and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Haggerty. On this show, I interview the world's top health experts so that you can know with certainty what it takes to give your family a life of epic health and wellness.
As parents, we don't want to see our kids struggle. I knew that he had the potential, and I knew that something needed to be done.
It was hard. We would get frustrated. We didn't know how to deal with it. I was more emotional about it.
That, we're here. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Hello, moms and dads. This is Dr. Scott Haggerty, and I am back here with the Growing Healthy Families podcast. Today, I am so excited to be here today with our amazing special guest because this mom has a really amazing but a really important story to tell. So I'm going to introduce this awesome young mom because she's really got a lot of cool things to share with you today. So, Karen, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. I ever since I met you, I've been looking forward to being able to sit down with you and to share your story with other moms and dads that are out there that may be in similar situations. So I thank you for being willing to go and share your story and talk from your heart about what you guys have been through.
Great.
So first, let's give moms and dads who are watching you some context. So when before you got in our practice, tell us what life was like. What were you guys going through? What were some of the challenges that you were seeing when you were trying to help your son?
Well, it was very hectic, and it seemed like the older he got, the more pronounced the symptoms were. Mm-hmm. And as you know, Joey's adopted, and so we got him when he was 1. Mm-hmm. And there were things that in the beginning that just seemed to show that he's not quite a normal kid. Mm-hmm. And I was concerned about him, but I didn't really know what to do about it or even how to ask. And even the pediatrician never seemed very concerned about my concerns. Mm-hmm. But I kept thinking, this isn't right. So now that we have our technology age, I was constantly on the internet Googling, well, why does my kid do this? Why does he do that? And so it started pointing to things like ADHD and sensory processing disorder. Mm-hmm. He was enrolled in a wonderful preschool program. Mm-hmm. And I talked to his preschool teacher about it, and she agreed. And so she started giving me little ideas of special diets to try and reading books and things like that. And so Joey was just so hyperactive. Mm-hmm. He never ever sat still. Mm-hmm. He was jumping on the furniture. He was rolling on the furniture. He was rolling all over the floor. He couldn't stay on any task. He would go from this to that. He would go and he'd take the blocks and turn them upside down, and then he was off doing something else. It was more like it was making the noise and being able to play with the blocks. Mm-hmm. Just things like that. Another thing that was very distressing to me was that he did things that were totally unsafe, that seemed like natural that you wouldn't do, like maybe jumping from the second floor to the ground floor. I mean, I was always worried that he would do something like that because he never sensed danger. Mm-hmm. He would go off with a stranger. It happened in a park once. All I was doing was taking the trash away, and I came back and he was gone with these kids that he had been playing with. I mean, I just literally turned my back for 30 seconds and he was boom, gone. So he didn't have attachments and things like that most kids do at that point in time that he had been with us for quite a while already. So just always, crashing into things. And the other thing that was very pronounced was that when he was around other kids, he was very aggressive. He was bitten by dogs because he was very rough with the dogs. And it didn't stop him from doing it again. So the dog would bite him again. And so all kind of things that were just so worrisome. And so I was stressed because I couldn't take my eye off him. I couldn't even take a shower with any certainty that he would be safe in the house. So you think, well, what's this going to be like when he's 10? What's going to happen when he's 13? What's going to happen as an adult? Is this kid going to be able to finish school? What's going to happen? What is his future and what is our future going to be like? It was very scary.
I think anybody that's listening to your story, I think that everyone's heart just went, oh my goodness. Because I think a lot of people can empathize because they're in your shoes, but I also think a lot of people can't imagine the amount of stress that would have caused for you personally. You know, because I mean, obviously, when you can't take your eyes off of your child and you can't, you know, let your guard down for a moment, you're never, ever, ever able to let down, and the stress that just accumulates on you is massive, right?
Exactly.
So, and I think what you expressed as far as you're concerned too, about thinking about what is this going to turn into, I think is a real significant concern that a lot of parents deal with as well. So now you mentioned that you had tried a few things at the recommendations of the preschool teacher. So had you tried anything else leading up to before we met?
Well, we had tried, there's at the Integration Therapy Center where they treat kids with sensory issues. I think it's a wonderful place and I do great things there, but it's extremely expensive. And it's more like a school that I would have to send him to that I just really couldn't afford. So he would go to play therapy there, and it would be great for the day, but it didn't have any kind of long-term effects because maybe because he wasn't getting enough. I don't know. I try all different things. He also goes to counseling. So we had all these different things going, but nothing that made any significant impact.
So you've obviously gone through a lot and tried a lot to try and help him to have a better quality of life. So when you first heard about pediatric chiropractic, how did you first learn about it?
Well, I was just doing my usual surfing the internet trying to look for answers, and I stumbled upon the podcast about the perfect storm. And I just was kind of mesmerized by the whole thing, and it made total sense to me. I said, this sounds right. This sounds, wow, maybe this is the answer. And then when I realized that the chiropractor that was doing the podcast was from out of state, I was like, oh my goodness. So I went ahead though and got onto the website, and I found your phone number, and so I called the next day. And I talked to Emily, and she said, yes, I think we can help you. And so I got my first appointment, and we had our little conversations, and we got started, and I was so grateful.
Well, we're so grateful for you too. So, you know, for moms and dads who are not aware, and I just wanted to step back and just redirect, the podcast that the webinar you're talking about is The Perfect Storm, that was done by my colleague, Dr. Tony Ebel. And so there's a directory that all pediatric chiropractors that have our specialty and our focus listed on. It's called the National Wellness Foundation. So if you're looking for yourself, you're watching this no matter where you are, there is a nationwide directory at www.thenationalwellnessfoundation.com or www.thenwf.com, where there are directories of people with the exact same training that I have, and we were all trained under and by Dr. Tony Ebel, who was the person who led the webinar. So when you watched the webinar, what were you thinking? What was going through your head as you're watching this?
Well, when you see all these symptoms, as I will call them, in your child, you wonder what's the root cause of all this. And you know, you hear various things. I mean, my son had a very, very difficult start to life, and so I mean, I always knew that it was related to that, but exactly how was it related to that? And when they were talking about the signals going from the brain to the body, it just clicked in my head. I just thought, this has to be right. And because nothing else was working. So it just was like, this fits. This totally fits. I have to try this.
So I remember when we sat and did the history and the consultation, and just hearing your son's story and what he'd been through. And you're right, like everything that you talked about with his beginning to life being so difficult and the stress that he'd been under, it definitely resonated with me sitting there as the doctor and as a dad. about the amount of stress that he went through. And I remember being so hopeful for you guys, when we were doing the consultation and looking forward to going to see what we were going to be able to accomplish together, because everything that he went through, the amount of stress that he was through, everything that you'd gone through, as a doctor and as a dad, I was looking forward to seeing all the cool things that were going to happen for him. But as you were stepping into the process, obviously there's a lot of pieces that needed to be put together, and a lot of things you were hoping to see. So when you came in and we did the history and we did the exam and we went through and we did the report, and you obviously made the decision to start care. Can you tell everybody kind of like what the first stages of care look like, and when you started to realize that things were starting to change?
Sure. Well, we come 3 times a week, and we come for adjustments. We walk into the office, and it's filled with families and kids. It's a very pleasant place to be. The kids aren't afraid because there's a TV on and there's a playroom, and they get stickers and they get high fives, and there's lots of smiles. Everybody's always in a good mood. I've never seen anybody that's not in a good mood, and we're here 5 months now, 3 times a week. So we become part of this family. We see the same faces all the time. So when I say to Joey, we're going to Dr. Scott's, he never gives me a hard time. We're going to Dr. Scott's. So
That's awesome.
when it's our turn, he gets up on the table. He sometimes gets to operate the table. He asks questions. The questions get answered, and it's kind of a fun experience for him, really. The adjustment's easy. It never hurts. He never complains about it. So I would say it's overall a very pleasant experience.
Mm-hmm. So when you guys started the care plan, so as you go through and you start watching kind of where he started, at what point did you see things changing?
I would say it was about a month. I've started to see the first changes. One of the things, he was a very restless sleeper. Mm-hmm. And because of his sensory issues, he likes to have a body in bed with him, so he's in bed with me all the time. Mm-hmm. And now he'll go to bed in his own bed. He ends up with me usually, but he's willing to even start off in his own bed, that's a big deal. But I noticed that he was sleeping more calmly and not throwing himself all over the bed all night. So we were both getting better sleep. So that was probably the first thing. But then I started to notice that he was just calmer at home. So the environment was much more peaceful. He would sit and play with his toys and cooperate better. He started transitioning better. It was always a struggle to get him to move from playing to dinner, or from the table to put his shoes on to go to school in the morning. It was always a fight to get ready to get in the car to go to school. And then I just started to see that he was just cooperating much better for all those things. Another interesting thing was my mom had some surgery and she had to recover with us at our house, and she was very nervous about that because she said, I'm not going to be able to stand it. But she really didn't have a choice. She had to come to my house. So this was about 6 weeks into the treatments, and she and I were both amazed at how well he did and how calm and peaceful we were through the whole situation. And it was Christmas time, which can be a stressful time, and it's a busy time, but he did just beautifully, and it was like, is this really my child?
That's awesome.
We were both so excited.
Very cool. Very cool. So as care has progressed, what other changes have you started to notice, as whether it's school changes or home changes that you've seen with Joey as well, or your son as well?
We're continuing to improve with our relationship together. There's a lot less yelling and bargaining and things like that. So things are much better. And so I know that those are normal things with normal kids. So I think we're maybe at a place where we're getting to be where you would expect a 5-year-old to be. As far as school goes, his last report card was extremely improved behavior-wise. So now he is able to stay on task, he's able to complete his work on time, and he is also demonstrating self-discipline. And those are all new with the third quarter report card. So
That's awesome.
Very excited about that.
Very cool. So now obviously, there's impacts on his quality of life, but what is home life like? How has it impacted your quality of life as mom, who for the prior 5 years has had to live on guard for the entire time? What has it done to your quality of life?
Well, significantly improved, because when he's calm, I'm calm.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all know what stress does to everyone. So my relationship with him is better. We can have fun together now. I'm not always just like all frantic about this and that. I don't worry as much about what other people think. So I know the moms and dads out there that have similar situation, because people really don't understand kids that are wired differently. They
Yep.
don't understand, and so that puts more pressure on you because your child is disrupting things. So that is significantly lessened. So I don't worry about that so much. And he can sit at the table for a meal now with some coaching, but he wasn't sitting at the table. He'd come and take a bite and run away. And so that's not a very calm way to eat your dinner. So just everything in general. I feel like I can get in the shower now and not have to worry. He's not going to run out the door. He's not going to set the house on fire, things like that.
That's huge. That's huge. Like actually being able to let your hair down for just a minute.
Right.
So that's awesome. Moms and dads, I know that a lot of you that are watching this, you can relate to this, because I know a lot of you live with this exact same situation in your own home, in your own life, and you can probably feel very much what Karen's gone through. So hopefully, a lot of you are able to resonate with what she's expressing here and sharing with you. And I think it's taken a lot of courage for you to come out here and talk about kind of what you've been through, because I know unless someone's been in your shoes, nobody can relate to what the stress is like of being with in a situation where you've got a child who's just on go constantly with the challenges that he went through, and obviously the complexities of his backstory. And that's something that God bless you for being courageous enough to step in to take care of him, because I know that you had to sacrifice a lot and take on with love a child who was going to be more demanding, and knowing that coming in, and so I think it's tremendous that you've made the decisions to be there to go and give him the quality of life that he deserved.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I want to rewind. So 5 months ago, you sat in a report room and we talked, and I went through the report findings with you, and I'm sure in your head at that point in time, like everybody who's sitting there, you probably had a million questions running through your head. If you could talk to you 5 months ago, sitting back in the report room, what would you say to yourself at that point in time that you think would have helped you moving forward?
Well, I would say that I've tried everything else. Nothing seems to work. This makes sense. It's logical. And I've got to try it. I've got to give my kid a chance. And I'm so happy I did.
Well, we're so happy that you did too, because we love having you guys here as a part of our family here at Elite, and it's just so cool to see all the changes that he's made. I mean, just in the way that he's able to interact and hang out and talk and communicate, and just so I'm super happy for you guys.
Thank you.
So moms and dads, I know that many of you probably are sitting here thinking, boy, this is exactly us. This is what we're going through. And I'm sure that probably a lot of you are wondering if this is something that can help your child. So as we mentioned before, and we'll drop the link here into the show notes, you can go to www.thenwf.com or the National Wellness Foundation's Facebook page to learn more information about how this can be helpful for your child. Karen, I thank you so much for being a part of this. I thank you for sharing your story with us, and for being a part of our family here at Elite, because we just love having you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And so for those of you that have watched this, moms and dads, if this is something that was of value to you, then do us a favor. Number one, give us a like. 2, give us a review on iTunes or wherever you're watching your podcasts. Give us comments. We'd love to get your feedback. If there's something that you heard here that resonated with you that you'd like to learn more about, also let us know, because the goal of this podcast is very simply is to help you moms and dads to give your child, your family a better quality of life, and we want to give you information, resources, hear stories about people's journeys so that you can have inspiration and hope to help you and your family to get to a better quality of life. In the show notes here, we'll have all the information here so that you can subscribe. Also share this with anybody else that you know that you think would value all of the content that we're dropping here and in future episodes. So make sure that you subscribe and share this with everyone that you love. This is Dr. Scott here with Karen. Thank you so much for being here, Karen. God bless you guys. Be elite. Thank you for listening to the Growing Healthy Families podcast, the world's #1 source for health education. Make sure to go to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a review. Make sure to follow us on social media at the links listed in the show notes, and let us know what area of health you are struggling with so we can get you and your family on the road to epic health.